I'm on a mission. Yes, on a mission to find how people keep well. What does it really mean to keep well? We all know why we have to keep well, don't we? How do you keep well? Today's fast-paced world means we often get caught up with the daily grind. We struggle to develop or maintain practices that help to maintain our well-being. It's very easy to feel overwhelmed by the constant demands and pressure. It's so easy to get distracted, isn't it, and end up doing exactly what we know we shouldn't be doing. Having easy to digest information to guide and remind you to keep well can make a world of difference. Consider me to be your dedicated well-being partner, cheering you to achieve big dreams and goals, which is only possible by keeping yourself well, living a happy, healthy, and meaningful life. Welcome everyone once again to the podcast, How Do You Keep Well? Today I have a fantastic friend and a business owner. She's Jenny Smailes, and she'll be talking to us about a topic I don't maybe know so much about, but I am quite happy to share my experience, and I'm sure Jenny will be happy to share her experience as well. She is the owner of Natural Beauty, Natural Grace. It is an earth-conscious business, and up until last year, Jenny was working as a web developer. Am I right, Jenny?
Yeah. Well, in that business.
And now she spends her day doing what she loves. She's running a business that aligns to our values and our gifts right here in Coventry, West Midlands in the United Kingdom. Jenny is helping women feel fabulous by using natural plant-based treatments and ancient methods, doing massages, facials, sugaring. I'm looking forward to hearing about that.
Yeah.
And Indian head massage and lymphatic drainage.
That's right.
Personally, watching Jenny start her business and growing is absolutely inspirational to me. And one of the things Jenny said is it's never too late to start. And that is something I'm learning from her. And again, one of the things that has drawn me to Jenny is her strong ethos and her business values, which is using plant-based beauty treatments that's kind to the skin and kind to the planet. And she is one business owner committed to helping women feel beautiful and relaxed. I'm looking forward to my session, hopefully very soon with you. So Jenny, tell us, what's the story behind all of this?
Yeah, so I'm a bit of a chatterbox. I'll try and keep it. But yeah, like I said, I was working in web development last year, and I just felt very dissatisfied with life. I feel like I wasn't reaching my potential. I felt like I had so much to give. I wasn't making the use of my skills and my qualities. And so I really started thinking, what am I good at? Where can I go next? I had a bit of a mini midlife crisis in my 30s. So I actually came across a Japanese term, which I think is really important. It's called ikigai. And it's talking about your best vocation in life is something you are good at, something you enjoy, something that will earn you money, and something that's going to positively contribute to the planet, to the world, what people need. And so I explored all sorts of options. I looked into teaching, I looked into speech and language therapy. I thought, just really trying to think about what my qualities were and what my skills were. And I've always loved the idea of setting up a business and working for myself, but the idea has always been quite daunting. But last year, again, it was just this time last year, I got a little paper out and made a little spider diagram. And I thought, what we're good at? Well, I've always been very earth conscious, really thinking about my impact on the environment. That's really important to me. I feel quite convicted by that. And I've always been very interested in skincare. Yeah, and the thoughts just started going, the ideas just started going, and every door I pushed for this business just opened. So I just felt like I pushed other doors and they were closed very clearly. But this one, I just thought, wow, the beauty industry is massive, has a massive impact on the environment. It's a big business. I'm thinking, how can we change that? Can we talk about that a bit later, aren't we, about plastic use and chemicals? Like, these are really bad for the environment. They're bad for us. Can I start a movement where we're more conscious, where we're thinking about more natural beauty? So that's how I landed on it. And I'm really a very early stage of the business, but it's going really well. And I absolutely love it. I feel like I've blossomed. So that's how I've come to here now. But yeah.
What I really like about how you found your why, how you managed to use the Japanese concept of ikigai. And that is something I have been drawn to personally as well. What I find really interesting is how you tried all sorts of different bits and bobs, and eventually it came back to what your original love was, which was again making sure you are using products that is safe, not just for your family now, because I know you do that really well, but also giving back to the earth. Absolutely. I actually find that again very just educative, just listening to you, like, wow, that is incredible. Just practically using that concept, not just for your personal life, but also for the benefit of the world. That's impressive. So let's go into your business a little bit. We will come to talk about the plastics. How did you manage to start researching about the products used in your business, especially from the chemical aspect of it?
Yeah, so I'm a bit of I don't like to call myself a hippie, but I probably am a little bit of a hippie, and that I love the environment, I love nature, like yourself, and I'm also a Christian, and I feel like God has created a world that looks after us if we look after it, and I feel very comforted by that. And I feel like once you just look a bit under the surface, you'll see that there are so many resources in our natural environment that can help us and treat so many different things. I mean, even just being outside in nature can reduce anxiety and lower your heart rates. I mean, I feel like if we look to nature, we can actually solve a lot of our problems. I do know I sound like a hippie, but I do believe that. And things like aloe vera gel, that can treat burns so much more effectively than things you buy over the counter. And I've got this personal belief and heart for that anyway. So in terms of what I wanted my business to look at, if people told me start off small, start off simple, start off cheap, and I thought, no, I want to have an ethos for my business. And what is that ethos? It's going to be plant-based. It's going to be free from harmful chemicals that if they're flushed down the sink, then they're not going to go and harm some wildlife somewhere. I really wanted to be plastic-free, and I wanted to be kind to the skin, and I've got incredibly sensitive skin, so I had to work on my skin. So I literally just made a list of all the things I'd want from my business, and I started off with facials. So I was thinking, what would be a good facial? And yes, I literally just Googled those things, skincare products that are vegan, plant-based, plastic-free, and I claim it with all sorts of stuff. I mean, there's loads on there, out there. But what's really important to me also that it was made in the UK, because there are so many fantastic brands, but then we're shipping them across the world and increasing the carbon footprint. So I was really quite specific about what I wanted. And then I invested some money buying a lot of products, which my husband may, but it was all for research. So I bought samples from lots of different brands and explored them all. I don't want to name and shame, but I found that some claimed a lot of things about being healthy and eco-friendly, but actually they had chemicals in them that I wasn't happy with, or they were packaged in plastic. Again, I wasn't happy with that. And I just ended up landing with Upcircle, with the brand I use for my facials. And I also use a brand called Holistic Kitchen, which is a lovely lady in Yorkshire. And these products are all plant-based. They're all natural. They are made in the UK. They have nothing harsh in them, no nasty chemicals. And they work. They really do work. And they smell amazing. Smells really important to me. Yeah, that's how I landed on Upcircle.
It's interesting you said that the chemical, you wanted products that if for any reason they go down the drain and they're safe, they're not going to cause any damage to the waterworks. Coincidentally, one of the products I bought from you accidentally tipped over, and I almost cried because half of my bottle tipped down into the sink. And I said to my daughter, oh my goodness, my beautiful oil, which smells amazing. And I personally have noticed the difference in my skin when I use that oil, went down the drain. But I didn't feel sad. In a way, I felt sad because my money was gone. But also, this makes me feel quite confident that it's not causing any major problems, even going down into the waste waters or anything like that. And that is just quite incredible. And that's one of the things I said, that sometimes it's not just about the big impacts, it's the little things we can do with our everyday lives that is beneficial, not just for ourselves, but for our environment that is eco-friendly. And we're shut down the food chain line. It's not causing any issues. Exactly. One of the examples, another example I have is, as a young mom, I was very careful about the products I used on my baby's hair, especially with products for a lot of the Afro-Caribbean community. I was very careful to research and make sure that there wasn't any harmful chemicals in them. And up until today,
I still use those products. And I think once you've done your research and you've done it well, you can feel confident to probably keep with the same products most of the time, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So I'm just going to talk about plastic a little bit now. I know you mentioned plastic, and this year the World Earth Day theme was about plastics versus planets, and there were some incredible statistics shared, which I actually felt a little bit guilty about my impact, my personal impact on what I call the plastic footprint, or individual plastic footprints. The amount of plastic being produced is incredible.
It's crazy.
Honestly, it was quite heartbreaking just reading the statistics that there's about 1 million more. How did they say it? Bear with me one second. Let me look for the exact way they've talked about it. That over 380 million tons of plastic is produced every year. More so, in the last 10 years, we've produced more plastics than ever in this 20th century. I thought that's remarkable. How can we avoid it? Is it possible to actually stop using plastics at all? What do you think, Jenny?
I think it's impossible. I think we're talking about big businesses. They are driven by money. They do not care. I think it's really hard to feel like a very small fish in a big ocean that's full of plastic. And we have to start somewhere. And so, I feel very convicted by, some of the statistics I found about plastic. So 50% of the plastic made is single-use plastic. So that's what I've got an issue with, single-use plastic.
Wow.
It's not plastic altogether, it's single-use plastic and microplastics. These are what I have an issue with. And I think there's a statistic where I think by 2050, there's going to be more plastic in the ocean than fish. I just think I feel like me alone, I can't tackle this big giant of an issue, but I can make little changes and I can influence one or two people to make changes, and they can go on and influence people. And that's what it's about. It's about changing people's attitudes and increasing their awareness, because I don't think people want to make this impact on the ocean, do they? Or wildlife, but they just don't know. And also I think it's hard because often these plastics are cheap. They're cheap to make, they are cheap to buy. And we are driven as individuals by money, aren't we? We've got our budgets, there's a cost of living crisis. We do want to make cheaper options. So I feel like there's a real battle going on between making the right choice for yourself and the environment, and you can easily get overwhelmed and in a whirl about it. You just make small steps. Like what little changes can I make today? And then you build on that. So
I was actually quite interested to learn about the microplastics. I didn't realize how much impact that actually had until I did my research. And apparently, there are microplastics and there are what they call nanoplastics.
Wow,
and these are all kind of little teeny tiny plastic, probably as small as a virus, or some people describe it as small as a sesame seed. And sometimes it's not just ingested, but it's also inhaled. And a lot of fabrics, even the fabrics we wear, made from plastic that has been broken down enough for us to wear it as fabric. Some of the microplastics are actually inhaled from the fiber of fabrics that we wear. How much more, like you said, the single-use plastic? I think it's just a growing menace, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And all sorts of plastics from all sorts of different areas. I do have a lot of interesting information that I probably would like to share as we go on in this podcast. But Jenny, I'm just a bit interested in what you think and how you have managed to perhaps mitigate this risk. Because like you said, it's almost practically impossible to avoid it, but we can take little steps. And I'm just interested in how you have managed it in your own business, particularly.
Yeah. So obviously, first off, it was finding the right product. So I found a product that is plastic-free. All the bottles and the pots, they can all be recycled, upcycled. If you buy it, you can send the pots back to them and they will recycle them for you, or they'll refill them and send them back to you. So all the products I use are plastic-free. The packaging that they arrive in is plastic-free. So that was really important to me. And then every little decision I make, every purchase I make, I think, what is the most efficient way I can use this or do this? So, for example, rather than using single-use bed sheets for my treatment bed, I'm using towels, and I wash those at 60 in between each client. Just reusable cloths throughout the different treatments I use. So I guess, yes, the products I use and then the way that I'm managing each client and things like that. That's kind of the biggest way I'm doing managing plastics.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And again, obviously, the other side of the coin is, do you think this would then mean that your business cost is a little bit higher when it comes to washing up and doing all of the little bits? But again, at the end of the day, you look at it that the aim here and the ethos of your business is something using products that are not just kind to the skin, but kind to the planet, isn't it?
Exactly. And I said earlier, when I started my business, I was like, what is my standard? People were saying start off cheap, just start it off simple. I was like, no, I want a standard, and my standard is here. And if it will cost more, but if you want to buy into that standard, that's what it's going to cost. And people are aware of that. Business is growing. So I started off with my standards and I've stuck to those. Yeah.
And one of the things you mentioned, Jenny, was the cleaning products used. And I think obviously that's related to chemicals as well. Using the safest chemicals. But you would think that this natural based treatments or cleaning products may not be as effective, or perhaps may not smell as nice. What has been your experience with that?
Yeah, so I use a brand called Mix Clean Green. I find their stuff smells amazing. She puts like lemon oil in it and orange oil, and it smells amazing. So peppermint oil as well she uses. So you feel like they smell really nice, but I do know what you mean. Often they'll smell, even though they're natural, they'll smell chemically or they'll smell neutral. And we like that clean smell, don't we? We like that fresh feeling. It gives us a buzz, doesn't it? That those of us who like clean things, that we associate that smell with clean and do things properly. So yeah, I feel like the products that I use do smell nice and they are fresh. But yeah, the floors I wash with these nice products, natural products, and the table, the surfaces, I all wash with eco-friendly products. And actually, when I wash my towels, I have to wash them at 60, which some people say is not ideal, but that's what's keeping it hygienic. But what I don't use is conditioner, because that's the best thing, we use plastic. So what I do is I can use vinegar in the detergent tray, because that'll act like softening the clothes. And when I'm tumble drying my stuff, I'm using wool balls, because that'll soften the towels. So my towels come out lovely and soft and fluffy, and I haven't used any conditioner. So yeah, little things like that. I'm really thinking about the detail about how I can reduce my plastic input into the business.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I'm going to try that, the plastic balls, even though I have seen it, but it's never occurred to me that.
In the tumble dry, they're wool balls.
Yes.
They're made of wool. They're really good.
Wool balls, not plastic balls. Okay, I will give that a go. Always
they really work. Really work.
New ways. Okay, so one of the things I know as a medical doctor is the impacts, the health implications, not just to human health, but also to all living creatures, of the impacts of this plastic. I mean, I think it probably was maybe about 5 years ago that a whale, maybe a sperm whale or something like that, beached on an island in Scotland, and they found about 100 kilograms of trash inside the beach, the whale.
Wow.
I thought, wow, that is incredible.
Wow. Yeah.
If that much could be found in such a big creature, how much more in all the tiny little creatures in the sea? Yeah. And obviously, we all ingest all this. I mean, especially in the Afro-Caribbean culture, we eat a lot of fish, we eat a lot of crayfish and all prawns and shrimps and all sorts of different things. And then you begin to worry about the amount of microplastics that we are kind of exposed to. Not just, like I said, with just ingestion and also inhalation, and the impact it's having on our health. More and more, we know it affects babies. I was very intrigued to find out that in a study that looked at the placenta of babies, they found in all of the placenta they looked at, they found microplastics.
I mean, I don't know how that happens, but it's crazy, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that was quite eye-opening. And the impact ranges from our brain to the heart to the effect our human reproductive system. So the impact is a lot more than we probably can ever imagine. Now, the next bit, Jenny, is about our mental health. I think more and more, again, there's a lot of study out there that the environment has a big impact on our mental health. I think both of us, Jenny, we share interest in going out and being in nature. Now, let's just imagine a world where there isn't any green space and there isn't any, or perhaps a world where there is a lot of plastic littering our countryside or even our waterways. How would that, I mean, And then, I mean, how would that affect our mental health? What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah. About plastic being in the nature or not being able to have access to nature?
Either of those, maybe not having
Yeah.
access to nature.
Yeah. I think I can't even imagine a world without access to nature. It's so integral to my lifestyle. Like even in my garden, there's nothing special, but I have to go out there if it's a sunny day and get the vitamin D and hear the birds singing. And I'm very fortunate to have a lot of like garden birds in my garden and my neighbour's garden. So I just find it incredibly therapeutic. Just even 10 minutes of just breathing in my garden. So I cannot even begin to imagine a world where there is not access to nature. But so many people don't access nature, do they? And I think nature is so impactful on our life. I mean, even just playing with it in the soil, that can or reduce allergies and increase our immune systems, all sorts of stuff. So there's actually quite a big difference between children who can get out into nature and those who don't. So I love it when schools include forest school areas into their schools. So it's, yeah, I think we're going to see sicker people. I think we're going to see people who
that's
are...
why you feel for people who live in urban areas where there is no access to green spaces. Maybe their air is polluted as well. And maybe the tiny little waterways they have is just filled with plastic or waste. And you feel like, sometimes we feel powerless as human beings. But actually, when we look at it, we probably have a lot more power than we want to admit to. And I know it's really important for us to be advocates for people, especially in the poorer communities where they don't have access to all of this, or perhaps they have factories. But I guess the little thing we can do in our own homes make a lot of difference on the environment. And that's where I'm going to today, that yes, as individuals, we can make that difference. As moms and daughters and girls, we can make that difference in our community. And whether it's the products we use on our skin or the way we dispose of our plastic, or even reduction in the amount of plastic or chemicals we're exposed to is really, really important, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Oh, wow. It's been lovely talking to you, Jenny.
Yeah.
And I just wondered, as we round up now, what your own general thoughts are? If you had to leave a message for a younger woman who probably is not aware of the impact of plastic, where would you recommend they start with? Or perhaps any general recommendations that you have about how to have a greener, healthy lifestyle?
Yeah, I think, as I mentioned earlier, once you start realizing the impacts of these chemicals and of the plastics, it is overwhelming. It is stressful. That's not what we want. We don't want to cause all this stress. We don't want people to feel guilty. That's not what we want, but we can start small. So let's just pick an area. And what we want to do is we want to reduce single-use plastic. We want to reduce the microplastics that we're using and opt not to use them. And what do we really thinking and being careful about the chemicals that we're using on our skin. So I would say for me, hand wash is one that I started with. So often we have a plastic bottle for our hand wash. That's single use. We're going to use it and then we're going to throw it away. So you can easily get a soap bar. I mean, Dove comes in cardboard. And then one thing I also want to point out is when I started being a bit more eco-friendly, I was very much focused on reducing my plastic. But now I'm reducing my plastic and I'm thinking about my chemicals that I'm using. So sometimes it is overwhelming. So if you can't think about both, I would just recommend people just to pick one or the other. But so for example, going back to myself, I started off with reducing single-use plastic in my hand soap. And then I was thinking about deodorants. A lot of the chemicals in deodorants have been linked to cancer and all sorts of things. So but why would I want that? Why do I want that for my daughters? So I'm using healthier plastic-free options for deodorant. Shampoo is one I've used. I don't use single-use plastic anymore. I use bars of shampoo. I'm just looking at really good brands. So I mentioned earlier Upcircle, that's a really good brand that is plastic free and it's thinking about the chemicals it's using. Tropic is really good. There are so many brands. Maybe we could link them somewhere and there's some ideas for people. So there are brands out there. You just need to do a little bit of research. But I think also just talk a little bit about the chemicals in products. Just being aware, as a doctor, so looking at the list of chemicals that we would want to avoid that are not good for us. I think about the parabens, phthalates, silicons, and all these things are what we call endocrine blockers or disruptors. What is that? I'd love to know a bit more from you. These are products that we should avoid. But secondly, what does that mean for our hormone system? I would love to ask you. We know that we should avoid them because they're endocrine disruptors. What does that mean? It's affecting our hormones. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes. So definitely there are these chemicals, like you rightly mentioned, the BPAs, the phthalates, the silicon, the arsenic, lead. There are quite a number of these that are we are exposed to. A lot of them we don't even know about, and a lot of them, yes, are quite obvious, but we still choose to go ahead with it. But definitely more and more evidence is out there that these chemicals, they actually have an impact on the way our body regulates its hormones. And we call them endocrine disruptors. And it can affect anything from the way your body produces what we call the sexual reproductive hormones, to even your metabolism, your thyroid hormones. And a number of these are everywhere. Every day we come into contact with them. But like we know, and we both mentioned, there is just so much that we can do. Having said that, we talked about chemicals, the plastics, the microplastics actually leak some of these chemicals out as well once they are in the bloodstream. And that's why the single-use plastics, especially the water, the plastic bottled waters, can be quite dangerous. For example, people leave plastic bottles in their car on a hot day. That is a recipe for disaster. Partly because the chemicals from the plastic leaks into the water, and once they enter into the body stream or bloodstream, they begin to cause a lot of changes, which many people we don't actually realize until further down the line in our 40s and in our 50s. And they are major endocrine disruptors. I mean, the endocrine system, for my listeners, is the part of the body that regulates all the different types of hormones. So endocrine disruptors will basically mean your body is not receiving all the important messages that would regulate how it produces the hormones. So we know that endocrine disruptors can also lead to early menopause for some women as well. So it has a wide range of impact. I'm sorry to have digressed, but I love that question.
It's really important part of the conversation, isn't it?
Absolutely. And it's really important to have this awareness. I think it's number one, creating that awareness that we have these things all in our environment. You can't avoid it, but you can limit your exposure. You can improve your lifestyle, particularly your internal organs that help to get rid of it, your kidney, your liver, by making sure you have very healthy food. Again, plant-based food is the nature's way of providing us with what I call detoxifying elements that help us, our body, to clean out these chemicals. So yes, thank you for that lovely question, Jenny. I could go on and on about it.
I know, it's a really vast topic, isn't it? But it is. That we know that eating well is good for our bodies and our health, but actually it's just important what we put on our skin is healthy and clean, and that is good for our health. And honestly, since I've been using much cleaner products and plant-based products, I look so much different. I don't have any foundation on today.
Glow, Jenny. You're glowing.
It's transformed my skin, and then that in turn has made me feel more confident, and it's boosted my mental health. So I think it's easy to know, isn't it, that eating well equals a good, healthy body, but actually putting healthy stuff on our skin equals good, healthy skin. And that's what we want, isn't it? So
absolutely, it's a win. Just like you mentioned your skin there, the skin is an organ in the body, just like the liver is, just like the kidney is. I know a lot of people go on all sorts of detoxification process, and they are detoxifying their liver. But just like you said, the skin can be detoxified again as well by using the right products. And it's just not the products, but also eating well to make sure your skin is clear and can do all the process of limiting the damages of all these toxins we come into contact with. Absolutely. So yes, Jenny, your skin is glowing.
Oh, thank you. It's honestly since I've been making healthier skin choice. Oh, and I could talk so much about it. I mean, a lot of the chemicals that we talked about already in the conversation, they prevent our skin barrier from doing its job. I mean, it's managing moisture and oil, but actually some of those chemicals that we talked about, they're stripping the skin of its natural oils, and they're dehydrating it and doing all sorts of things. So if we're just using natural products on our skin and healthy products on our skin, then our skin can work as it's meant to be and as it's designed to be, and then we get healthier, glowing skin. So it's, as you say, a win-win. It's a no-brainer, really, isn't it?
It is no-brainer. Definitely, I agree 100% with you. The skin is an important organ in the body. It's the largest organ in the body. And if we don't look after it, then we are increasing our risks of having things accumulate where they shouldn't be accumulating, but also increasing our risks of developing health problems even later on. But apart from that, like you said, your skin looks better and you feel better in yourself. So it has an impact on the mental health.
Yeah, and I use much less makeup these days. So that's good as well. I'm saving money.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. It's been such a pleasure talking to you, Jenny. Thank you so much for bringing your experience. And I really like what you mentioned in terms of what you can do. Start small, whether it's you're looking at the amount of plastics or whether it's the chemical. You can always start small, then slowly build from there. The more you do it, then the better it is. Then you can begin to explore what other aspects that you can work on. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Start small and then just build it up as you feel more confident. But yes, absolutely.
That's lovely. Thank you so much. Jenny, tell us a little bit as we round up about your business and how we can contact you when we need that special self-care.
So also, as you mentioned before, the business is called Natural Beauty, Natural Grace. I'm on Facebook and Instagram, and you can contact me there. I still haven't got a website. That is coming. I'm still quite a new business, but it'll come eventually. But just reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram. And if people don't have those things, they can contact you and you can connect me with them. But so that's how people can get in contact. And there's information about what I offer on my social media pages.
Thank you so much, Jenny, for the generosity of your time today.
Wow,
I'm looking forward to coming to have I see it as my special birthday present, coming to have something with you very soon. So thank you for all you do. And thank you for being such an inspirational woman as well. Thank you.
You're very inspirational yourself. Thank you. Okay then, bye-bye.
All right, bye. Bye.